Good morning, sir.
Yes, Harulaji.
Sir, this invention and innovation itself is means a broad topic of discussion because there are various points which differentiate invention from innovation. So, means how we can relate them interchangeably.
Okay, fine. So your doubt is on my statement that we can use them interchangeably.
Yes, sir. As far as my understanding is concerned.
No, you are perfect because as I said, academically there may be a difference, and I also going to explain the differences that how innovation and inventions are different. But academics is not everything. We need to understand what is happening in society in practice also. So in practice, let us not go into this kind of characterization, this type of differentiation that this is innovation and this is not innovation, this is only invention. So that is for us researchers, academics, that we can classify things on the basis of our definition of innovation and invention. But as I said,
Yes.
for the normal public, for the practitioners, for newspaper articles, they can write invention, innovations interchangeably. So to the extent for your classroom discussion, you should have this clear differentiation that what is innovation, what is invention. Up to that, I am okay that we need to understand the difference between innovation and invention. But beyond that, if I say in the industry, this is invention, this is not invention, this is not innovation, this is only invention, then that may not have that much of practical relevance. What we want in the industry, let me ask a simple question. What we want in the industry? Why are we studying this topic?
Yes. I understand that from industry point of view, that in industry, it's as per customer alignment, it is as per customer requirement. Means our aim is to satisfy the customer requirements. I understand.
I will give you the examples. Don't worry, I will give you the example, and that will make our life easier to understand the difference between invention and innovation. I will give you plenty of examples now.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay, so I got your question. Any other?
So there's a question in the chat box where one Mr.
In the chat box because
I'll sir read it out. It says Mahesh sir is asking if we can say that innovation and invention are stages of design thinking.
Okay. So this question will be automatically answered once we will discuss the process of design thinking. So what are the different stages, and up to what we can say it is invention, and beyond that it may go to the innovation domain. So that I think question will be taken care of.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Hello.
This is Jaideep from.
Yeah, Jaideep ji.
I just want to know, very interestingly, you told at the beginning that is nirvana and moksha.
Yeah.
To this innovation and invention. I'll really like to have be enlightened by you on this aspect on the innovation and invention. With nirvana and moksha, the ultimate aim of psychology.
Yeah. So as this subject will progress, and after 2 hours, I will appreciate if some of us will reach to the state of nirvana with respect to innovation and invention. So
that will be fantastic, sir.
Right.
This comparison is ultimate, sir. You have done with nirvana and moksha.
Okay, so I got some idea that what we expect. One question which is coming, the difference between innovation and invention, so that we are careful where we can use these two terms interchangeably and where we should appreciate the difference. So that is because I know all of you are already having some background knowledge about these terminologies. So for you, it is difficult to digest this statement that innovation and invention can be used interchangeably. So I am fairly, you can say, appreciating your concern, and it will become my duty now to justify that statement. As again and again I am saying, academically I cannot, but practically I can. So that is point number one. Then obviously the questions related to design thinking and at which phase of design thinking you say that you have done an invention, you have done some innovation, that also is partly our query which we want to know. Now, so if you go to the literature of innovation, so Schumpeter, he is one of the earliest person who gave a type of a formal definition of innovation. So it's a combination of new or existing knowledge, resources, equipment, and other factors. Then Edison also gave something. There is a way to do it better, and you have to find it, which is more related to process innovation, and to improve on or makes a significant contribution to something that has already been invented. No. Private Limited. Yes. Hello. Hello.
सर वो बाय मिस्टेकली किसी ने ऑन कर दिया था स्पीकर.
Okay, okay. Now, the definitions given by Edison, Schumpeter, and other experts over a period of time can be summarized with the help of a very simple model, that is 3I model. Now, is 3I model has three components: idea, implementation, and impact of this implementation process. So if you have a new novel idea, that is first thing. Idea alone is not sufficient. You need to implement that idea also. And implementation has a long journey. You will implement that idea in a controlled environment, in your lab environment. Then you will develop a prototype of that. You will do beta testing of that prototype. And based on the feedback of beta testing, you will develop your final product. And then the final product will go to the market. And then it should create some kind of impact. Depending upon the type of product you are talking, the impact can also be of different categories. So when all these three things are there in a particular process, we say that innovation has taken place. Innovation has taken place. So for innovation, all these three I's are required. A new idea, you should be able to implement that idea. For an example, somebody says that there are so much of crime in India against women. So much of crime in India against women. And maybe a researcher like you, who is from the field of human resource management, he wants to do this study that what are the different causes of crime against women. And one of the cause is, let's say, I'm just hypothetically assuming that one of the cause you got that consumption of alcohol leads to crime against women. Now, so you got it very correctly. So you thought that if we can completely ban consumption of alcohol in our country, probably the crime against women will also go down. So you come with this idea, and you went to Ministry of Home Affairs and to Prime Minister to suggest that we should ban consumption of alcohol completely in our country, so that the crime against women can be reduced, because alcohol consumption was found to be the most important reason for crime against women. So your idea is good, but it is very, very difficult to implement. It is very, very difficult to implement. So there are sometimes good ideas are there, but those ideas become very difficult to implement. So the implementation is also a big challenge. All ideas cannot be implemented. Once you have implemented that idea, how much impact it has created. You are from Faridabad, Manav Rachna University. I don't know whether right now you are doing this FDP from your university or from other remote locations. But you may be recalling that few years back, Delhi government came with a scheme of odd even, that on a particular day only vehicles with odd numbers will be flying, on some other day vehicles with even numbers will be flying. The purpose was to control the pollution. The purpose was to control the pollution. So because of state law and order agencies, traffic police, the civil police, with the help of so many NGOs, volunteers, the scheme was launched, it was implemented. But the impact that, yes, it helped in reducing the pollution level of city could not be realized. And therefore, it was discontinued. So idea has to be there, proper implementation has to be there, and then you should be able to see the impact of that idea implementation process. And as I said, like in the example of this odd even in Delhi, this purpose of this odd even is to reduce the pollution, to reduce the air pollution particularly. So our impact is measured depending upon what is the objective of our innovation. If our innovation is being done by a company like Apple, so if Apple is doing some innovation, so Apple's purpose is to increase its sales. Apple's purpose is to increase its market share. Apple's purpose is to increase its profit. So here, everything is in the terms of monetary. But when I'm talking of odd even, here the impact is not in monetary terms. Here the impact is in terms of how much pollution level you are able to reduce. Take another example. Some of you may be knowing it very well, that now in our country, there is a very popular scheme. Unfortunately, because of COVID, it was not happening. The scheme is midday meal. I think many of you may be knowing about this midday meal scheme.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you can just raise hands if you, because that is the simplest way to respond in these online. Unmute and then mute again. That takes time. So simply raising hands that yes, you are there. It gives a sign. Otherwise, sometime only host and speaker, they are there, and all others are logged in and doing there, because it's how much, what is the time? It's 9:30 right now. So many of you are still in the process of taking your breakfast and doing some other household activities, and you have just switched on your laptops. Like earlier days, I remember my mother, when she used to do household work. So in the morning, she used to put some radio channel, and she is cleaning the house, she is making our breakfast, she is doing some other things, and that radio is on continuously. And kabhi usme gana aa raha hai, kabhi news aa raha hai, kabhi kuch chal raha hai. So similarly, you have just logged into this Zoom link of FDP. Speakers will come, speakers will go. आपका भी attendance लग रहा है. So ऐसा तो नहीं है.
Not at all.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Only host is raising the hand. So I still feel that.
No, I am not
No.
host. I am not host. There is
No. Before that, before a few seconds.
not at all. Not that all.
Only Narula ji is there.
Sir, yes, sir, there's activity in the chat as well, sir.
Yes, sir. We are actively listening what you're saying.
Sometimes you need to give a little bit of shock also, no? So that if we are feeling sleepy, so because these are only storytellings. So if you are sleeping, so you have to create something. Otherwise, people, I feel, why do we sleep? Slightly digression from the topic. Why do we sleep in lectures?
There are many reasons, sir. Sometime maybe in the night we could not sleep properly.
Okay.
Then other reason maybe like the lecture is sometimes very boring and it is going over the head sometimes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Two reasons. Either you have not taken proper rest or lecture is boring.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rajesh.
Yes, sir.
Have you attended any? You are from North India.
Yes, sir. I am from Patna.
Okay, so have you attended any time any bhajan sandhya, bhajan program, kirtan program?
Not in physical mode, sir. Only on TVs I watch sometime on TVs.
Okay, not on physical. So you go sometime in a bhajan program.
Yes, sir.
Sometime. So within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you will feel sleepy.
Yes, sir.
And you go to a musical night by Arijit Singh. You will not be feeling sleepy for entire 2 hours of musical night.
Yes, sir.
Why? And if you go to a musical night of Jennifer Lopez, you will be dancing for entire 2 hours.
Yes, sir. So that is the reason. That is mainly because these like Jennifer Lopez or Arijit Singh, these are the people who during their performance create so much of energy with their performance only. So much of energy that we always like to enjoy. We like to be part of because most of the people in the crowd also will be cheering up. So that is their one thing is their performance is very like lively and energetic kind of thing, and also the crowd with which we are attending, they are also cheerful throughout the maybe for 2 hours or whatever time they perform.
Okay, so any other input? Why do we feel sleepy and why do we not feel sleepy?
So I think when we sit in the same posture for very long, we fall asleep.
Okay, you see, let me tell you that whenever you get a comfortable bed, you will feel sleepy. But if somebody asks you to sleep on thorns, on stones, because of lack of comfort, you will not be able to sleep. Unless until you are extremely tired, then only you can sleep. Otherwise, if I ask you to be on thorn or on stones, so I consider those bhajan sandhyas those lectures given by spiritual leaders are like a bed of flowers. And because of bed of flowers give you a lot of comfort, slowly you start sleeping. And the programs of pop singers, programs of such high energy are considered to be, in my understanding, as events or as opportunities or as situations which are having a lot of stones, which have a lot of thorns, and as a result, you cannot sleep in that. So if a good lecture is happening, so now coming back to our discussion, so if a good lecture is happening and people are sleeping, it is a good thing that the speaker is able to do justice, because only when you have a comfortable environment, when will you sleep? You can sleep only in a comfortable environment. So a good lecture is providing you that comfortable environment, which gives you the benefit of a sleeping pill, and you can comfortably sleep during that discussion. So if you are not able to sleep, that means the lecture is not so comfortable. It is creating so much of vibration in your mind, and because of those vibrations, you are not able to sleep. So that is just to give you how do we sleep. All these are my understandings. You will not find these things any reference. This is how I take the things forward. Now, idea implementation and impact we were discussing. And in that idea implementation impact, we discussed that how new ideas are required. And then we need to do some kind of implementation of those ideas. And finally, depending upon our interest, like I gave the example of earlier two products, but I was discussing last the example of midday meal. In case of midday meal, the purpose, this idea came because the gross enrollment ratio of our country was continuously going down, and large number of economists, large number of people of development science, they were doing research that how to improve the gross enrollment ratio of India. So then came the problem that because large number of students are not going even to the primary level, so how you can improve the ratio for higher levels. So the entire focus became on improving the GER for the primary level. And now at the primary level, it was found that if we can create a system that school will provide you lunch, then many parents as well as children will be ready to come to school. So providing midday meal is a kind of an incentive, or is a kind of that attraction, because of which a child from low income family will come to school. And when the child has come to school, you can keep that child for 5-6 hours and educate also. And slowly, he will start liking the education. And that's how the impact is, whether after introduction of midday meal scheme, our enrollment ratios are increasing at primary level, at secondary level, at higher education level. So if you are doing some kind of a thing, you need to know that how I am going to implement and what will be the impact of this particular innovation. Sometimes you can do some kind of novel things with respect to implementation also. How are you going to implement that particular thing? So it is not necessary that always you are having a new idea. Idea may be old, but you may implement that idea in a new way. And that is also possible. And design thinking helps in that. Let me give you an example that idea may not be new, but the implementation may be the new. And very classical example which I find for this is the example of Indian freedom movement. We all know that in Indian freedom movement, we had two broad division of people. Those who wanted to take freedom through violence and those who wanted to take freedom through non-violence. People like Mahatma Gandhi, they went ahead with this concept of non-violence. Now, the concept of non-violence is not Mahatma Gandhi's contribution. It was there in our Indian society, Indian civilization, Indian culture since long. Buddha, I think, can be the first person to talk about non-violence. Mahavir Swami is another great propagator of the concept of non-violence. Jain, we all know, ahimsa is one of the important founding pillar of Jain religion. So the idea is so old. And now Mahatma Gandhi, how he became innovator, he implemented that idea which was more like a religious idea, how to live in the society. He used that idea for a very different context, that is the freedom movement of India. So that becomes the implementation and the impact. India got freedom. So idea can also be new, or idea can be new, but the implementation can be in a different context, in a different way. Finally, impact has to be there. If impact is not there, then it is difficult to say innovation. Now, it is also possible that impact may not be as per our expectations. So, will we calling that innovation or not? Yes, that is something which we will be discussing in this session. So, to understand this innovation, we understood this 3I concept. Now, coming to invention.
காசு வாங்குறாருல ஒரு செஷனுக்கு 5,000 10,000 வாங்குறாங்க இந்த செஷனுக்கு 1.5 மணி நேரம் 2 மணி நேரத்துக்கு 5 ரூபா வாங்குறாங்க.
நீங்களே ஃபீஸ் கட்டணுமா சார் இல்ல
கவர்மெண்ட்
Sir, please mute your mic.
கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்பான்சர்ட்.
Hello. So please mute your mic.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rajat sir.
No problem. So when we are doing this exercise, it is quite possible that there are so many ideas with us and they are in our implementation stage. They are yet not created any kind of impact. So those ideas which are in our implementation stage and yet not created any kind of impact, so this is invention. So now you can have a very simple way to understand the relation between innovation and invention. Innovation is equals to invention plus impact. That is innovation. Though there are ways through which you can define invention also, where we are not talking about impact. It is creation of product or introduction of a process for the first time. So when we are talking of novelty, that is the first important feature of invention. Something new, that is the basic feature of invention. And invention is generally confined to our lab. Invention is generally confined to lab environment. And when you add the open market, when you take it to the field from lab, this is another way to understand innovation. That take an example of companies like Google. Google regularly gives you new products and new features in your products. And you can say it is considered to be one of the innovative companies. Now, there are few products of Google: Google Class, Google Meet, Google Search Engines, Gmail, Google Scholar. All these products we use very frequently. Google Maps, etc. Google Documents, Google Drive. But there may be hundreds of other products also available with Google. So as long as those products are not coming in the market and those products are part of Google's in-house product profile, all those products are part of invention. Google has done these inventions. But when those products come to the market and starts impacting our life, we start consuming those products, then those products become innovation. When Google was developing Google Maps, so it did not come to us immediately. Google took long amount of time, and Google has a very large team of reviewers. So whenever Google is going to introduce a new product into the market, it sends the copy of that product to those reviewers, and then they do independent use of those applications. And then they write to Google that what is good, what is not good, and based on that, the final product is developed. So point is that if innovation I am talking without impact, it becomes invention. Or in other words, you can say invention with impact is equals to innovation. So now some of you were having this issue that these cannot be used interchangeably. Yes, I fully agree with that. Innovations and inventions in our understanding, because we know this difference clearly, that if something is only in your lab, and that's why if I'm correct, or I'm maybe I know Rajendra ji, who is organizing this particular FDP, he is a faculty of mechanical engineering. But I don't know about other participants, whether they all are from engineering background or they are from miscellaneous. So please give me quickly your mechanical engineering. BSBE means bioscience, bioengineering.
Yes, sir. Biosciences and bioengineering.
Okay. Narhari is not from engineering. So Narhari, from which particular domain you are? You have created another question because you are not from engineering. So you may be from some other background. So it's better you could have written directly that I am from science or commerce or medical, whatever. Okay, so there are few responses which have come, and these are suggesting that people are mostly from mechanical engineering background or bioengineering background. The point which I am trying to say that yes, he is from entrepreneurship background. The point which I am trying to say that in your BTech final year projects, your students are doing good amount of work. They develop some project output. You evaluate that project output and then you give them the grades. Now, since the purpose is just to complete the degree, get grades and go for a job, we are not able to understand that some of those projects has potential of creating some impact also. So whatever research is happening in your BTech projects, that is at best can be categorized as invention. But when you convert that invention in a product which can be marketed, which can be consumed by public, then that invention of your BTech project will become innovation. So this component of adding value, you can say, or you can say taking those lab work to the market, that is the key component. So you can say this is how we can say that invention means anything which is only available in your lab, that is invention. But when you convert that invention into a product which can be marketed and a service which can be consumed, then it becomes innovation. So all what is there in your lab, which is not being used by the society, by the customers, that is invention. So you may have so many patents, but patents are not commercialized by you. Those patents were not licensed to anybody. So that is simply an invention. But using a patent, if you are developing a scientific spin-off, using a patent, you are doing a technology transfer agreement, then that is kind of innovation. So that's how you can understand the difference between invention and innovation. But my point is that many a time people in a family or those who have not done these type of formal classes, for them invention and innovation are almost the same thing. Therefore, I said in the beginning that maybe you will find in newspapers, magazines, these two terms quite interchangeable. So I don't mind for that, and neither you should think of that, because many people may not have this kind of understanding. Our job is, our purpose is to promote, to help innovation at the practical sense, and how that innovation can flourish. For that purpose, now we are going to come to a very important tool and technique, that is design thinking. There are different ways for innovation. There are different schools of innovation, like system thinking. That is another very popular school, where you are working on a particular objective. And you have identified a particular place of improvement in your organization. Because that is the bottleneck right now. And you know that if I can improve this bottleneck, then the performance of entire organization will go up. So if I am working under the systems thinking, my job is more related to process innovation. You can understand that way also, that if I want to reduce the waste, if I want to reduce the level of inventory, if I want to reduce the level of defects, for all these purposes, I may require.
बैग लग गया कहाँ पता नहीं
Jaideep sir, kindly mute.
ठीक है चल रहा है वो FDP वाला
हाँ FDP
Jaideep sir.
Okay, so in a process where we are converting the inventions into innovation, that require a lot of inputs about the design thinking. Because inventions are sometimes done on the basis of my expertise. But how to convert that invention into a usable product? You all are mechanical engineering students, faculty of mechanical engineering. You know about second law of thermodynamics. And based on second law of thermodynamics, we had the concept of coefficient of performance, coefficient of performance and entropy. And we all know that 2-3 very important devices like air conditioning, refrigerator, etc. are working on this principle of second law of thermodynamics. So now, to a extent, the understanding the second law of thermodynamics and developing so that second law of thermodynamics, that what it is and how you are going to understand that you can transfer heat from a lower temperature body to a bigger temperature body, higher temperature body. That is the, you can say, meaning of second law of thermodynamics. But using this concept, developing a device like air conditioner, developing a device like a refrigerator, that is innovation. Because that has created huge impact in our life. Companies are selling air conditioners, so they are getting benefit. Large number of distributors, retailers, service stations, and making our life more comfortable. Many of you may be sitting in air-conditioned room right now. So you are feeling comfortable, then only you are able to attend this lecture. Otherwise, how can you? So it has created the huge impact. So second law of thermodynamics is not innovation, but air conditioner, a refrigerator, these are innovations. So similarly, we keep doing, like nowadays we have this issue of 5G, that in our country very soon 5G will come. Now when 5G will come, that is because of technological development, 2G, 3G, 4G, now 5G will come. But developing some devices which can give you the real benefit of 5G. If you have a computer system where RAM is very low, very small RAM is there, 128 is the specification of RAM, you will not be able to enjoy that 5G. So developing the devices which are 5G compatible, that requires lot of, and it's not that those devices are not there. Already these companies, whether I'm talking of HCL, whether I'm talking of HP, whether I'm talking of other, you can say Lenovo, Apple, etc. they all are ready with those products which will give you a better experience of 5G. And that's what is expected, that you can use your scientific temperament, your research temperament, and then you require a person who can convert that scientific outcome into a product, then it is innovation. So I think by this time, we are clear that what is invention and what is innovation. So, and why we can use them interchangeably also. No question? That means somewhere I'm lagging. I'm not able to create impact.
Sir, good morning, sir. Audible?
Yes, you are very much audible. Let me see.
Sir, what I have come to know that they are somewhere connected. Like with examples, you have explained it beautifully, the difference between innovation and invention and their connection. This is my understanding.
You see, let me make 2-3 points very simple and straightforward. Innovation is not possible without invention. So,
Yes, sir.
Innovation's subset is invention. Invention is largely related to R&D activities which we do in our lab. But when you take the R&D activities of lab to the market, then it becomes innovation. So it is also true that every time it may not be able to create huge money for you, huge market share for you. Some examples, 5, 6, 7, which I discussed, these are those examples which are successful examples. Therefore, we all know them. But there are large number of innovations which are not so successful. Therefore, they are not reported in newspapers. Therefore, we may not be knowing. But the only thing is that when you are taking your lab research to the market, in market it may fail also. Midday meal scheme is doing something good. But for an example, if midday meal scheme fails, that people are not coming to school just for having the food grains. So in that case, also midday meal scheme would have been an innovation, but the desired impact could not be achieved. So therefore, you again need to go to design thinking school, that where we make some mistake, and in our midday meal scheme 2.0, we should be able to work on those mistakes. So there is a very close relation between invention and innovation. Innovation is impossible without invention.
Sir, there is something I want to talk about.
Yes, please.
Talked about this Joydeep again. So this you talked about, I think this innovation, when you talked about the lab application and then coming to market, is invention is in lab application and innovation coming to market. That's fine as far as science is concerned. But when it comes as science is concerned, it's absolutely provable what you are telling. But I have some reservations about one of the examples you told, though it is little distracting from this. Like you said, ahimsa, the Gandhi's way was invention, and it led to innovation like the independence of the country. Right. That is controversial. The Gandhi's way of invention might not have led to the independence of the country. There are Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, there was Bhagat Singh, who also did for our country in the non-violence way, and British might have left for them also. I'm just distracting a little. I'm not talking about that. You told as an example, I understand that. But I just wanted to, in case of socio-economic cases, this may be controversial.
No. Let me make my point very clear. There is no controversy as far as what I said. Let me also make a disclaimer in the beginning that by giving the example of Gandhi, I do not want to undermine the contribution of Netaji or the contribution of Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar, or anybody. I have means respect, which I cannot describe in words. So that is the disclaimer I would like to say. Now, only from the point of view of this class, and to give you the perspective that how innovations are possible in different spheres. It is not limited to just to have business, that I am Apple, I am Samsung, I am Maruti, I am Hero Moto Corp, and only related to our product developments, innovations are happening. So I just try to broaden the scope of your thinking that yes, innovation is possible in variety of things. Innovation is possible in variety of things. Mahatma Gandhi's example is my own creation. Let me also tell you. And in that, I am very much convinced that things like independence is not possible just by one particular person. Thousands of people, lakhs of people contributed, gave their life. Only because of that, we got independence. So there were different pressure points. People, those who were having arms in their hands, they were also a pressure point. Netaji Subhash, through his Azad Hind Fauj, was again a pressure point. And lot of, you can say, civil movements which were happening in our country under the leadership of all these people who were following Mahatma Gandhi's concept of non-violence. So they also started doing so many movements. So the multiple pressures acted on Britishers, and as a result of that, you can say, we got the independence. So here, my only input was that the idea of non-violence was not the Mahatma Gandhi's idea. It was already there in our Indian culture. But see how innovative he was, that he used this idea for a very different purpose. So far,
Hello.
So,
Hello.
yes.
Yes. You are right. No, that is correct. What you are telling, you told as an example. I understand that. I cleared it from the beginning that I understood that you told as an example. So it is agreed, sir, what you are telling. But what I meant to say, the independence, okay, you have already explained the point. The independence has come due to many pressure points. It is not due to one pressure point. So that is well taken. I am agreeing to this point.
Okay, fine.
so, sir, in this case, can we say that what Mahatma Gandhi did was innovative
Yeah, so
with that idea?
He did innovative way of, you can say, implementation of the idea. And
Implement.
the most important thing in that, which is the favorite example from my point of view, is Dandi March. Dandi March, we all know, was one of the very important turning point in our freedom movement. Dandi March, I think you all know.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And it was against some act because of which we were prohibited to use the salt for our own livelihood. So Gandhiji wanted to protest against that act. Now, it was very simple. If you read the books of history, you will come to know that Gandhiji created, I will use this word, please do not take the literal meaning. Please try to understand the philosophical meaning of this. Gandhiji created full drama about this Dandi March. And for about a month, this was like daily, that next day Gandhiji will follow which route. The entire intelligence of British, they were also involved, and it created so much of curiosity at that time that what is going to happen next, what is going to happen next, what is going to happen next. And Gandhiji created the entire process in such a way that he gathered more and more support during that his march. Gandhiji did not use any motor vehicle. Gandhiji did not use any bullock cart. Gandhiji did not use any train, because he wanted lot of public participation in that event. And therefore, he very well scripted. I can say that he very well scripted the entire movement. It was not a spontaneous collection of people. It was a well deliberated, well drafted plan, which was very well executed. And finally, when this Dandi March concluded, it created another wave, because what was happening, if you read the books of history, before Dandi March, for many years, nothing significant was happening. And it was appearing that the movement is dying its own death. Movement was dying its own death. Many of the leaders who were believing in violence, etc., like Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar, Subhas, they were not able to create any kind of pressure, because Britishers put them either in jails or gave them sentences like that. So Gandhiji was curious that how to reignite that fire of independence in the countrymen. And therefore, he used this opportunity very well. He used this opportunity very well, and that became a very important turning point in our freedom struggle. That's how the innovation is required everywhere. And that's is a very classical example, which I feel whenever I discuss about innovation, this Gandhi's example is a very favorite example of mine, because generally you see examples related to corporate world in innovation, but this gives you an example. Similarly, the example of midday meal, that also I feel is a very interesting example of innovation in our country. Okay, so I think already 1 hour is over. Now we come to the second part. Can we have just 2 minutes break? Let me have a glass of water. Just very quickly.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Please.
I'm just closing the mic for 2-3 minutes. Okay, welcome back. So, after understanding innovation and invention, the next word which was there in our title, that is design thinking. And it is one of the very popular school of innovation. When I say one of the very popular school of innovation, there are other schools also. You can do design thinking, or you can do system thinking, you can do lateral thinking. So these are different schools of innovation. And since these days the focus is on new product development, you all are mechanical engineers, you know, there is a subject of new product development in our UG level. So because of much focus on new product development, the role of design thinking has become more important. We all know the product life cycles are reducing day by day. And because product life cycles are reducing day by day, you need to have much faster rate of introducing new products into the market. Otherwise, we all know that in India, there was a time when only two cars used to be there, Fiat and Ambassador. But Fiat could not introduce new products regularly in Indian market. And as a result of that, when Maruti came in 1984 in India, it changed the entire landscape of Indian car market. I know that at that time, only about 3, 4, 5 models of cars used to be there in 1980s. And now you see somewhere around 2000 models of cars are available. So you can imagine that how we have increased dramatically the number of models for cars. And it's not for car. When we used to have landline phones in our house way back in 20th century, so we used to have only one type of telephone from Department of Telecom. Then if you want to have a fancy telephone, you need to purchase it from open market. And in that also, we used to have 1 or 2 companies like Betel, etc., providing you the handsets. Then came the period of mobile phones, and mobile handsets, you know, are available in infinite amount of designs, I can say, because each company has its own design. Apple designs are protected under industrial design activities. Samsung phones are also protected. And there are so many different models with so many different colors. So thousands of models of mobile phones are available. But mobile phone is like handset. Now I think the future is coming where it will be mindset. You had a table set where your phone was on the table. Then you have handset. This is handset. And then I feel that future will be of mindset, that directly from the mind you can communicate to other person. So those types of chips may come, which may be given to you at the time of birth, and then you are permanently connected with the world. So who knows what is going to happen tomorrow? And since last 10 years, you see the kind of rate of introduction of new products into the market we are seeing, that is unprecedented. And the way we are moving, it is expected that this rate of introduction of new product will further increase. And therefore, for product developers, it becomes a very challenging activity, that how you need to regularly make new products so that you do not lose your customers, you do not lose your market share, etc. So design thinking has become popular because of our increased focus on new product development. So this basic premise, that why are we talking of design thinking? Why are we not talking of system thinking and lateral thinking? I think this point is clear.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now, when we are talking of design thinking, there are some steps which are written here. These are to emphasize, to define, to ideate, prototyping, and then the testing. These are some of the important steps of design. Now, this particular graph gives you the idea that how companies which are following design thinking in their approach have done phenomenally well than the other companies which are in this S&P 500 indicators. So you see their stock prices are higher than 219%. This is the time when these companies were almost at the same level, and within 10 years, this is the phenomenal growth over other companies which have not adopted the design thinking. So this particular graph itself is an indicator that how design thinking is able to directly contribute. It's a kind of a tangible benefit of using design thinking in your organization. And this gives you enough motivation also for promotion of design. Now, so this is giving you a simple, you can say, definition type of a thing for design thinking. And since this IDEO is the most responsible, you can say, organization for the promotion of design thinking. And design thinking can be described as a discipline that uses the designer's sensibility and methods to match people's need with what is technologically feasible and what is viable business strategy can convert into customers' value and market opportunity. Now, in this definition, why people like me enjoy working under design thinking? Because there is a myth that only creative people can be innovators. There is a myth that only creative people can be innovators. I particularly feel myself not so creative. I'm not a creative person. Generally, our definition of creative people is those who are good in drawing, painting, etc. Or those who are like Padman. If you see that movie Padman, so he was kind of a creative person that making different types of small articles, doing some little bit of maintenance on his own, and that is the sign of a creative person. So I feel myself not a very creative person, but I feel I can do very good in design thinking. And design thinking enables people like me who are not so creative, even then they can become innovators. So therefore, the acceptability of design thinking is higher. That it breaks that myth that only creative people can be innovators. Anybody can be innovator. Let me put it simply, anybody can be innovator. Now you will say, how anybody can be innovator? So let me explain that anyone can be innovator if you have this concept of empathizing. If you have empathy in you, because as we discussed the concept of innovation, the first point was idea. Now, from where the idea will come? From where the idea will come? When Gandhiji was there, the biggest problem was to work for freedom for our country. So Gandhiji had a big problem to solve. But you know, even during that time, when our freedom movement was going on, there were many people who did some other type of social work, like Raja Ram Mohan Rai. He was a great person, no doubt in that. But in place of freedom movement, he found that, oh, this sati pratha is a big problem for our society. Let me do something for that. Now, this is the example of empathy, that you can understand the problem and you can appreciate that problem, that yes, it is worth solving a problem. So empathy gives you large number of ideas. Without empathy, you will be very mechanical in identifying the scope of your problem. My phone, this phone which I am using, this is Apple phone, i11, i12, and it is i12. But I was reading somewhere that now Apple is planning to launch i13 also. Now, sometimes you see when Apple is moving from one I to another i7 to i8, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. Sometimes there is a significant improvement in the product, but sometimes it is just a cosmetic improvement in the product. So sometimes they follow design thinking very religiously. Sometimes they are not able to follow the design thinking religiously, because design thinking doesn't say that you have to introduce new products on a regular interval. So introducing new products, new iPhones on a regular interval is not their innovation strategy. It is their marketing strategy, that we continuously need to see that replace your old iPhone with a new iPhone. So for that purpose, this introduction of new iPhones keep happening there. But many examples you see, like for COVID vaccine, we were in very difficult situation that from where to take vaccination. Slots were not available. So as a part of design thinking, the idea of opening of this booking through Paytm and many other places, it is started with some kind of, you can say, joint system. And government also gave the code freely available to anybody. And various students I know, they created Telegram groups to give you the live information about availability of slots in your area. So point is that people could think of this problem, that yes, there are many people who are not able to register on their mobile phones for the vaccine slot. Therefore, they are not able to take the vaccine. So how to handle this? So unless until you have this empathy, you will not be able to appreciate their needs. Now, as I said that in this process of innovation, process of design thinking, even if I talk of empathy, idea.
Sir, I wish to speak for a minute.
Yes, please.
If you talk about, sir, this industrial design like Apple, Samsung, but how they are empathic? It's their business.
How
they can be empathetic? It's their business. It's their marketing strategies.
No, you see, like this is Apple phone. Now this is Apple phone. I don't know whether it is, yeah, you can see now. So this is Apple phone. Now, when I say that Apple is using design thinking, and for design thinking, they have to have empathy with the customers. So the empathy with the customer means that what exactly customer requires, I should provide only those things in my product. If a customer is not requiring something and you are unnecessarily pushing those things to the customer, then it is not coming from the design thinking. Then it is not coming from the design thinking school of innovation. Many a times you give excessive amount of features, and therefore, let me give you a very classical examples. That Tata Nano, we all know, is a big game changer in our Indian car market. And we all know that Tata Nano didn't get the kind of success which we were expecting. So why it did not get the success?
Because their cars had some problems during that launching. There were some accidents. That may be the reason.
Okay.
But they have a novel idea of initiation.
Okay.
That two-wheeler people may come to four-wheeler.
Yes. Any other input?
No, sir. That's all
Only
from my side.
Narula ji is participating in this FDP. What about Srilekha? Akshita? They are not here, I think. They have just logged in. It will be better if organizers can ask all participants to keep their camera on.
Dear participants, please keep your camera on as
Anyway, so the point which I am trying to say that ideas.
Sir, I have a question.
Pardon?
I have a question, sir. Hello.
Jadip, yes, please.
This is regarding air conditioning product. I'm from branch of HVAC.
Yes, please.
Specialized in heating conditioning air conditioning. So I want to talk about the companies were making many products of air conditioning, like central air conditioning, window air conditioning, split air. Like companies like Brewster, Voltas, who are the traditional companies of the country. Then Daikin came in the field. Daikin, you must have heard, Japanese company. They have come in the field and they have introduced VRV system, variable refrigeration volume system.
Yeah.
Now, this is a new system creating quite a clutter in the industry, HVAC industry, if you are knowing about that. So my question is that, is it a design thinking or is it a marketing? What Daikin has?
Yeah, it's a clear example of design thinking. Because you see, if I am in a big hall, like I think I can take example of this place where, let's say, Mr. Sahib Singh is sitting. I can see Sahib Singh ji, and he is sitting in a place. So Sahib ji, how many people are there around you? Okay.
Near about.
How many people are there around you?
3, sir.
Pardon?
Hello.
Yes.
3 people.
3 people. Yeah. So now, yeah. So Jaideep ji,
Yes, sir.
the requirement for air conditioning for 3 people and requirement for air conditioning for 1 people. Maybe after some time, 2 peoples will not be there and only Sahib ji will be alone there. Now, in our conventional air conditioning things, if you have taken a air conditioner of let's say 2 tons, so it will continuously consume energy for 2 tons, whether 1 person is there in the room or 3 persons are there in the room. Now, with the help of this, and this was a challenge for us, that wherever you are having a big sitting area, like our host from university, they are sitting in a computer lab, as I can see. And in that, sometime in the computer lab, 20 students, 25 students are there, you require more air conditioning. And sometime only you alone is there. And at that time, you may not require that much of energy consumption. So this was a problem of users, that how can we optimize energy consumption of our air conditioners. Our conventional companies didn't answer for that. They didn't realize, even if they were knowing this problem, but they never came with any kind of solution. A company from Japan, Daikin, they came with a solution for this particular problem, that you see, many a time it is also part of our design thinking, that your requirements not be very explicit, because as a customer also we feel कि भाई ये चलता है, ये तो ऐसे ही आता है AC, तो इसमें we cannot do anything. So, but if a company can understand that I can go beyond chalta hai approach and I can provide solution for those things, then only you take an example, like first, all these reservations for air tickets were done through internet. Then came the railways, and till date, we do not have proper ticketing system for our state transport buses. But then there comes a company like Redbus. So company like Redbus thought that how can I provide this kind of computerized reservation system for buses also. So now there are various state transport buses also, and the privately operated buses also, which are booked through Redbus system. So Redbus is a very popular mobile app through which you can book your bus tickets also. So it is a matter that who recognizes those unmet need,
Sir, I just want to,
and for recognizing those unmet need, you need to have empathy. If you don't have empathy, then what do you see, that I am good in this thing and I keep producing those things. But I need to understand what my customer, Jadipji, what is your subject?
HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. I teach that in my university.
Air conditioning.
And I was in Blue Star also.
Yeah. So now, if today you think of writing a book in area of air conditioning, there are already plenty of good books are available in that air conditioning area. You must be using some of them as a reference book also. Now, today you think that I should also write a book on that. So you cannot repeat the content which is already there in those books. So what should be the right strategy to start writing a book? You will go to some of your students, some of your colleagues who are teaching similar subject. You will understand that what is missing in your current books. And based on that, you will make your mind that, okay, my book will have these kind of things so that my book stands apart from rest of the books in the area of air conditioning. So that is application of design thinking.
Sir, just that I just want to little correct you. Just you told about Daikin's, that's part load you were talking about. The instead of 3 people, 1 people is there and air conditioning, how should it take care of that? That was the question you were talking about. Actually, I'll tell you, if you control with the, if you compare with central air conditioning already takes care of need of that. If it is 1 person, 3-way valve is there, 3-way valve controls the chilled water flow, and accordingly the thermostat operates, and accordingly the higher and lesser number of people are taken care of. So that is not a problem with the Daikin versus central air conditioning. That may be a problem somewhat with the window and split air conditioning, what you are telling.
You see,
we also introduced inverter technology.
Yaditi, I don't want to go into the specifics of a particular thing. You see, we are discussing this it is not an air conditioning class. It is in generic terms of innovation and how design thinking can help. So I am saying that central air conditioning, you see, you are talking only from your subject's point of view. Central air conditioning is generally done for the commercial organizations. Central air conditioning is not done for your residential organization, residential places. In your 2 BHK flat, 3 BHK flat, 4 BHK flat, you will not do central air conditioning. The example of this variable technology by Daikin, now you can apply this in your residential cases also. So that is a big change, that a hotel, a conference hall, they can take the benefit of central air conditioning. But what about your individual house? You will not find many Indians. I have not seen any Indian so far. I have been to Amitabh Bachchan's house also, that whether they are using central air conditioning for their house. Nobody uses central air conditioning in India for their household purpose. Central air conditioning is used for commercial and industrial applications.
No, sir, let us not go into air conditioning details.
So therefore I'm saying that you are trying to find issues with respect to a particular example. Our objective is to understand the role of design thinking, and even if you are you are taking example of all these industrial products, I can say even B2B companies also, need to go for design thinking. Unless the simple concept is, unless until you understand the customer's requirement correctly, then only you can use your innovation to create impact. If you only work, because many a time we feel that we have strength in this particular area and we can produce state-of-the-art product. But it is quite possible that state-of-the-art product may not be needed by the society. And the biggest example of all these design thinking principle is in India. Because in India, we have a large number of market in rural areas. We have large number of market in below poverty line. Now, immediately, if I am designing a product for Janiti, if you are not speaking, please mute yourself. It is creating echo. Yeah, thank you. So, in India, large number of market is in rural, below poverty line and such type of things. Now, what happens? We as a designer have this type of perception that ये तो गांव के लोगों के लिए बनाना है, ये गरीब लोगों के लिए बनाना है. So let us make these products low cost, क्योंकि they don't have enough purchasing power. So these are to be produced with minimum cost. Fair enough. But then what we do for reducing the cost, we generally reduce the quality of the product. And then all these products fail when we are taking those products to the rural markets or low income market. Actually, they do not require those extra fancy features which are there in your product. They require only those features which are directly useful to them. And if you provide multiple features in your product which they are not going to use, so obviously they will not love to purchase your product. And already you have reduced the quality of the product. They want good quality of product, but product having only those features which are going to be used by them. If you are providing n number of features and they are only going to use two features of that product, then you are unnecessarily increasing the cost. And then to reduce the cost, you have reduced the quality of the product. And that is the reason of failure of many products in rural and low income BOP market in our case. So design thinking is applicable not only in services, but in products also. And unless until you are connected with your customers, as I gave the example of writing a book. So unless until you know in which particular manner my readers will use this book, if you don't have that understanding that who will be the reader of my book, you cannot write a good book. So every time like authors of guidebook, they are very perfect. They know that the reader of our guidebook is students who are not able to perform good in the exams. So they are going to be the reader of their book, and therefore they write the entire guidebook in the form of question answer. These are the questions, and then what is the answer? These are question, what is the answer? And the pattern of writing a guidebook is entirely different from writing a textbook. So it is simple example that understanding the people, what are their desirability, that will help you to go ahead in your product development exercise. So point is simple. The first step of design thinking is to do empathy, to understand your customer properly. Then there are few other very interesting things in design thinking, and these are like how we are developing the product. In traditional approach of developing the product, we do a lot of analytical work. Many of you are mechanical engineering students here. We have a complete subject of machine design, and where a lot of analytical process is told to us that how the product will be developed. But in this case of design thinking, we do not believe in too much of analysis. If some idea has come to us, we will like to implement that idea without longer period of analysis. Some brief preliminary analysis is okay, but we do not want to do everything. We do not want to become sure before launching that this is going to be a perfect product. So the process of development of a new product is shortened because of immediate implementation. As soon as the idea comes, we want to implement immediately. And since we have not done enough homework with respect to product development, there are good amount of chances that your product may fail also during the implementation. So we will fail again and again, and we will again and again modify. So during the implementation stage, good number of iterations will take place. You will fail, you will modify. You will fail, you will modify. You will fail, you will modify. And therefore, this design thinking is also known as co-creation. That you are co-creating product. This is slightly different. This is slightly different from concurrent engineering. As mechanical engineers, you may be knowing about concurrent engineering. So it is slightly different from concurrent engineering. In concurrent engineering, different functional areas like design and manufacturing, they sit together to make a product. But here in co-creation, one is a developer and another is user. So they come together, and with their interaction, the product is developed. So they come again and again close, and the concept is fail again, fail cheap. Because we are not doing any kind of pre-analysis. Since we are not doing pre-analysis, therefore, there are multiple times you can fail during the implementation, but you should be able to minimize the losses because of failure, and that is only possible that you go very quickly again and again for the implementation, so that without much efforts. And when I'm saying fail cheap, it is in respect of human efforts, it is in respect of monetary, it is in respect of time also. So both these, all three are the important dimensions of cheaply failing. If you have done too much of hard work, if you have put in your resources and then you are failing, that is also not desirable. Your hard work of so much of time. If you are taking too much of time and then you are failing, then the whole principle of design thinking has no meaning. If you are taking too much of time in developing the product, and then if you are putting too much of monetary resources in developing the product and again it is failing, that also is not desirable. So failing cheap with respect to time, with respect to efforts, and with respect to money. You should fail with minimum expenditure of all of these three aspects. And once you are going there, so a lot of learning is happening during the implementation. Again, I'm going to take you to a controversial example. Many of you may be agreeing to it, many of you may not agree it. I know this. This example is the process of demonetization in our country. Few years back, we know demonetization took place, and in this demonetization, government gave option of changing your old currency notes with new currency notes, and there was some limit which was decided. I think it was 4,000 rupees initially a day. A person can change old currency notes with new currency notes, and everywhere you can see in the country at that time long queues in front of banks for people to get these currency notes changed. Then many people started making it a business. The daily labor, they started standing for you in queue. So a daily labor who is getting 300 rupees, 400 rupees. So if he is standing again and again for you in the queue and replacing old 8,000 rupees note with the new 8,000 rupees, so you can give him 1,000 rupees and 7,000 is your new currency. So this type of reports went to Finance Ministry. So immediately, within few minutes, they changed the decision that now in place of 4,000 rupees, 2,000 will be changed over the counter. And then 2,000 also started working. Now in this 2,000 process, bank staffs also got involved in this kind of rackets, and many people started complaining that 2,000 is not sufficient. We are not able to meet our requirements with 2,000 rupees. So after some time, with lot of restrictions, the new guideline came where 4,500 was possible to exchange from old currency to new currency. So if you read newspapers, if you recall the media discussions of that time, 4 or 5 years back, the RBI, which was responsible for issuing all those notices, was termed as Reverse Bank of India. That today you are giving some direction, then tomorrow you are giving some other direction, then you are giving some other direction. So people used to say it is not RBI, it is not Reserve Bank of India, it is Reverse Bank of India. And for me, as an outsider, I consider that this entire exercise, there may be a lot of criticism about that, but I feel that this exercise became a very good example of design thinking. That how design thinking was implemented. Many people say that it was not properly thought, there was not enough homework done for implementing this demonetization. But I feel that it has to be done in a way which is going to be top secret. And then for implementing this design, this concept of demonetization, government used the process of design thinking. So again, I am coming that design thinking is possible not only in products, but in variety of fields. These are our own creation for classroom discussions, that how design thinking is being applied by different organizations. Now, this is one example which is very, very popular. If you go to any design thinking book, you will find this example of Airbnb, which was once upon a time, the revenue of Airbnb was continuously following, and they were almost on the brink of closure. And they thought that, okay, we are in Silicon Valley, let us take help of some of the companies in that area. But later on, somebody thought that we need to apply customer-centric approach. And customer-centric approach is nothing but this empathy. This empathy is that customer-centric approach. And when they went for this customer-centric approach, because the pictures of their properties were not so good, and therefore those who are going to see the Airbnb properties, they were not very impressed, and therefore they were going to some other platforms to book their accommodation. So when they started working on this customer-centric approach, they realized that the photos uploaded are the biggest reason for less conversions. And then they traveled on their own to different places, took high resolution pictures, uploaded those pictures on the Airbnb site, and then within few weeks, they means the data says that within 1 week the revenue increased to the double figure. And that's how this becomes a very classical example, that unless until you interact with the customer, unless until you know, and many a time the top management of a company feels that customer research is the responsibility of our frontline managers. And many a time this is not that fruitful exercise. Similarly, this example is from India, Arambh, and this Arambh, you can say, is a similar example which any mechanical student can think in its first year. So this is about providing the, you can say, proper tables for studying, and these are the problem because of lack of proper system of study, bad postures, poor eyesight, handwriting, quality of education, all these things. So now, as a result of doing a lot of understanding of students, these type of products are being developed, and this helps them in proper sitting, proper storage, school bag, everything. So it becomes a kind of a complete infrastructure for education purpose. So this is the example. Similarly, you can find many examples where in a variety of ways, companies are taking input from you, understanding from you that what are the gaps and how to fulfill those gaps. That becomes their, you can say, feed input for the design thinking process. I have also planned 2 exercises. So one is about grocery shopping experience, that is more related to service organization, and then about designing a pen. So you want to develop a pen, you are in a pen company, maybe Parker or similar company, Pilot, and how you can develop a pen using the design thinking approach, or doing an exercise for improving the grocery shopping experience. You want to open a new retail chain in our country, and how our customers should have a better experience in our shopping mall. So for that purpose, this exercise is being planned. I know that I think it is already coming close to 11 o'clock. So I will not go beyond that. And what I'm going to do, that I can share this PPT with Professor Rajendra, and he can circulate it to you all, so that maybe today evening, etc., you can plan these exercises and see what is coming. And maybe if some of you can note down the important outcome of your group's finding, then in tomorrow's class, I have a session with you tomorrow also from 9 to 11. We can use initial 15-20 minutes to get your feedback on these two exercises. So that is what is possible. So with this, I come to end of my discussion for this particular session. Yes, Narula ji has raised me.
Sir, actually, I am working on like say value engineering, Six Sigma methodologies, lean management, and I am feeling that this is overlapping with that. Means like you are talking about this pen example. In one of my session of value engineering, I have taken the same example using functions. So how does it differentiate? Means aligning with customer requirement. This industries are doing with say value engineering and removing the unnecessary steps. They are doing with this lean management. So means I wish to understand that is there overlapping or design engineering is altogether different?
No.
Means aligning with customer requirements.
I got your point.
Yes.
You see, in the field of management, in the field of actually going to the practice, it is impossible to say that these things are completely exclusive. There has to be some element of overlap. People at different point of time give different concepts, different approaches with different objectives. So, like you talk of development of scientific management from the type of Taylor. At that time, there was no concern for human being. The entire concern for machines, that how much you can produce more and more. But later on, when this human relation approach came into existence, and after that, the Japanese Revolution, they started giving importance to human in everything. Whether you talk of total quality management, whether you talk of value-added manufacturing. So the role of human became center to their activities. They said that if we can take care of human, all other things will fall appropriately at their place. So the human touch is a common phenomena in those concepts which emanates after Second World War. So across the phenomena, you will find that human aspect is a very you can say constant place. Therefore, when I'm talking of empathy in our this particular concept of design thinking, empathy is with respect to external customers as well as internal customers. While the concepts like lean, etc., are more focused towards internal customers, that within the organization, we should not create any kind of waste. How we can do value-added manufacturing also have this kind of philosophy more oriented towards efficiency. The objective is that I do not waste anything and I only focus on value-added activities in this entire processing of input to output. While design thinking never talks of how you are processing it. Design thinking is saying in this process, if my internal customers get disturbed because of wastage, so that is also an area where I need to focus. But अगर मेरे internal customer को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, so then I will not be focusing in design thinking on that particular thing. So here in lean or value-added manufacturing, I go with a specific agenda that this is what I am going to do, and I need to involve people in that exercise. Here, I leave entirely on the people's wish that what they want, and accordingly, I should be able to provide those things. If my external people are more cost conscious, that I want a product with the minimum possible cost, and my internal people are concerned about that there are so much of waste we are generating, we should minimize the waste. So now this particular exercise of design thinking will help me to follow a principle of lean and then I will simply apply lean and I will be achieving the results. And the starting point, whether lean should be there or not, is coming with the understanding of design.
ठीक है. Thank you for this beautiful examples and this
Thank you.
beautiful concept.
Dear participants, any query? Okay, Dan sir, kindly conclude the session.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajat sir, for this wonderful session. And I know you had a lot more content and the time was little spare. But we will try our best to do these exercises and get back to you tomorrow. And thank you, sir, for your time and for your session, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll participants will meet again
At 11:30.
at 11:30. At 11:30.
Thank you.
Okay, right.
Thank you, sir.